It is week 4 here in the Aegis Guardians League. I'm Nyarko here with Charles Elroy tonight as we will be casting Imperial Gaming versus Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby here. Charles Elroy, we got some interesting points to talk about before we dive right here on into the draft. Imperial Gaming at the top of the standings here, yet to lose a single round within this league. Meanwhile, Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby still looking for the first overall victory. Who do you think is going to be coming out on top tonight, and how do you think that this will be dictating what we see going forward into the draft?
I mean, looking at what we've seen so far in the league, Imperial Gaming's got a strong record. They're 3-0. They've closed out their games relatively quickly. Meanwhile, Crystal Cave Gaming, a little bit on the back foot here. They're 0-3 so far. They've got a little bit of struggle bussing going on. So I want to see a good series. I'd love to be proven wrong. But I think we are going to see an IG win. So fingers crossed we get to see Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby come out here swinging and put them on the fences a little bit.
Definitely would be a good thing to see as we dive into the draft phase here. The first few bands already coming out. Notably, out of these first few selections, Christopher Cave Gaming Ruby, that's going to be a hard one to continue to pronounce, is immediately going to take out the Nami. We have seen Rin, the support on the side of Imperial Gaming, picking up that champion whenever possible. Obviously has really great synergy with champions like Lucian there in the bottom lane, where she's able to take stuff like Electrocute and just put a lot of pressure where they're typically otherwise played as a pretty supportive, free-flowing champion. So, interesting choices already, showing that Ruby has done their homework. IG going for some more standard bans that we see the Caitlyn, the Akshan, and the Shen all being taken out at this early stage, as it looks like we have a hover from Ruby on the Corki as the first pick of the game.
Yeah, and good point out on Rin getting off of the Nami there. A couple of those games, she had 25 assists, 16 assists, so absolutely devastating on the Nami. Huge impact for her. So it's good to see that Crystal Cave Gaming is, like you said, doing their homework, taking Rin, trying to put them on something that they're not the most comfortable with. Corki as well. Actual Birds played Corki a couple times this season. So putting the Corki over on the blue side with, you're right, it is a mouthful. Crystal Cave Gaming is good. They're going to try and keep them off what they're used to. Get them off some comfort picks, get them onto some new items, some new champions, and really kind of put them on the spot, if you will.
That sense of discomfort that they're trying to create is really going to be an important aspect of taking down the powerhouses of Imperial Gaming throughout this match, as we see the solidification of what looks to be a support pick and a bot lane pick on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, alongside that mid lane choice of Corki. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of flexibility in all of these champions. The Karma can go into the top lane. We have been seeing that before, but it has fallen off since the nerf of the Enchanter top smite meta. On the side of
what
IG,
a meta that was too.
Oh, what a meta it was. On the side of IG, it looks like we're getting a similar solidification of what is most likely the bot lane here. Senna Thresh, obviously very, very strong, and with a lot of lore significance as well, which is already really fun to see.
Yeah, nice little backstory there. Senna being in the Lantern for so long, finally released, and we're going to get to see him paired up again in the bot lane. I like the Karma Ezreal. I'm assuming that's a bot lane duo, as you mentioned. She could be flex top. We haven't seen a whole lot of that here in the last couple weeks. But it's a strong poke lane. It's a very nice mobile lane. It's a great team fight lane. I really like the Karma Ezreal pick here. I'm excited to see how the Senna Thresh goes, though, because Thresh is one of those champions that offers so much. He can peel, he can engage. He's just really a strong support. So to see him out in this game, I'm looking forward to see what IG can do with him. And it looks like the final bans are coming through right now as well.
Yeah. It's definitely something to note that Senna is going to be getting out of sticky situations by clicking on Thresh's Lantern rather than the reverse, which is what we see in the lore. Interesting ban coming out on the side of Imperial Gaming here, going with knocking out Fiddlesticks. This isn't really something we've been seeing Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby choose in the past, so maybe it is something that IG have determined through a bunch of self-testing that they personally don't want to have to contest or deal with, as it looks like they're going to be hovering Udyr here to go into the jungle and into the hands of Swaggy P. Oh, and a switch up at the last moment means instead Swaggy P, what a fun name, is going to be on that Vi.
And he has done Vi earlier in the season. He went 8-3-13, strong pick for Swaggy P. So I expect to see another strong showing out of him today with that. Also, I'm expecting to see I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Shin. Bot Diff has picked Shin, I think 4 out of their 7 games. So they're very comfortable on the Shin, but we'll see. And as I say that, there's the Poppy. Now that could go jungle, but I'd assume that that's probably going to be a top Poppy.
Poppy top, also something that exudes a lot of power, especially in this gold league. This is a champion that can oftentimes get a lot of priority in lane or just threaten kill pressure, especially alongside the combination with a good jungler. But also at the same time, you have great gank setup with that W being able to allow for the approach. And it looks like that Poppy will be in fact going on into the jungle. Bop Diff going to be put onto that set. Unfortunately, no Shen this game, as IG did ban that out in the first round, Charles. But
I didn't even notice that. Good call. I didn't even see that. I'm like, okay, yeah. No, that makes it a lot difficult to pick him if he's not on the board, though. And is that going to be a Master Yi we're going to get to see?
Ooh. This changes things a lot if that hover goes through. It doesn't look like it will, though, as we will instead get the selection of a Jax. But the fact that the Yi gets hovered sends a little bit of uncertainty into the minds of both us as the casters as well as CCGR, as if it is the case that they chose to pick the jungler last. That can be something like a tank Vi top, which is definitely playable, and we have been seeing its presence known in solo queue, really. And maybe it could be a comfort pick that we have yet to see by Noble Bark.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the top Vi goes, I will admit I have not seen it a whole lot here, but I have heard rumors of its legend, and that would have been a very fun little pick to cast as well. So I always hope for these spicy picks that you hear about, like, oh, I saw a guy do it on YouTube. Like, I want to cast that game. How interesting would that be? But it looks like we are going to get to see her roll into the jungle, and everything looks pretty standard for the most part across the two teams here. So I'm not too worried about what we're seeing. I like the team setup, though. How are you feeling about what we're seeing so far?
I think that both teams have the ability to execute upon the game plans that they are separately going for, but I have to look at some of the picks on the side of CCGR. They know that they're going up against an incredibly strong team, and that's why I'm a little bit hesitant, especially about picks like the Poppy and the Corki. Corki needs a lot of time to scale up in that mid lane, and the fact that they're going to be against Azure Fire onto that Ahri means that they're going to have a really tough game ahead of them. They have to dodge those stuns. They have to make sure that they're using Valkyrie correctly to reposition in lane to not get ganked by the Vi. And so with those burdens on official Jesus there on the side of CCGR, my question to you is, how do you think that they're going to look to execute that game plan, get that Corki scaled up in the mid lane? How are they going to be able to keep Ezreal safe in lane from the dominant presence of the Thresh? Senna also a huge tempo carry in their own right, with the ability to slow and stop Ezreal from utilizing his maneuverability with Arcane Shift to the best of their ability, or even the speed ups that he could get from Mantra E on Karma.
I mean, I think you nailed it, right? IG has a lot of CC coming out. You've got the stun from Ahri, you've got the root coming out of Senna, you've got the hook from Thresh. Even the top side have their CC. So if they come down like Vi for a gank or Jax for a teleport to make a play, there's a lot of CC coming down from the side of Imperial Gaming that can just get layered on top of one another and lock down one of those carries. So if Corki and Ezreal do make a misstep, they're going to find themselves with a gray screen, getting a free trip back to the fountain, which will be no fun for them. That being said, though, those are two of the more mobile carries, right? You've got Arcane Shift on Ezreal, you've got Valkyrie on Corki. The concern I have is Corki's passive was nerfed about a patch or so ago, where his passive doesn't come up until, I believe it's 10 minutes now, and then it's a 5-minute gap instead of 4. So he is going to have to wait for that package a little bit more often. So I don't expect to see them wanting to do a whole lot of team fighting early in the game. I'm expecting that to go a little bit more later when they have that package up, that they really want to try and utilize that Corki to make as much damage come out of him as possible. On the flip side, though, like you mentioned, you've got Karma with the speed up boost. You've got the Arcane Shift on Ezreal. As long as he's able to position himself right in these team fights, they should be relatively safe, I would think. The problem is, with an Ezreal, right, especially at this elo, a lot of times they don't use that Arcane Shift defensively, they use it aggressively. And then the next thing you know, it's got a nice long cooldown. You find yourself too far up. Vi comes down for a gank, and you don't have an escape route, and that's when you're going to get bitten the bottom, if you will, get bit in the rear end there, and get taken out. So I just want to be watching him to see how he uses that ability. If he's going to be stepping up, being aggressive with it, or if he's going to save it to be more defensive to make sure that he's got an escape route. Because if he's got a gray screen, they don't have a lot of damage output in those fights, and it's just something to be mindful about.
Judicious package placement and good arcane shifts going to be huge burdens placed upon CCGR here in game 1 of the Aegis Defenders League, week 4, between them and Imperial Gaming. Obviously, we have been talking about their execution a lot, but also Imperial Gaming themselves do have a lot of things that they have to check out, make sure that they play around. For instance, Poppy's W going to be a huge obstacle, especially in the case of things like counter ganks. Swaggy P going to have to be very careful about how they use stuff like their Q when they approach lanes and approach team fights in general. Similarly, Thresh has got to land those hooks. He's got to make sure that his lantern is placed well. Rin going to have a lot on their plate, especially given the fact that they are going to be knocked off of one of their big comfort picks here. The Nami banned away super early, and this probably means that Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby are posturing to continue to keep Rin off of that selection going forward. So, will they be able to adapt as we go through these rounds? Are they going to be able to play the champions that they're going to have themselves placed on? All really big questions that we're going to have to see answered here as we move deeper on into these sets of games.
And it really does come down to those skill shots, right? Execution. You can have the best, strongest champions in the game, but if you're not executing on your draft the way it needs to be handled and you're not landing those skill shots, you're done for. So like you said, Ren, very comfortable on the Nami. Absolutely incredible games coming out of her. She felt very good on the Lulu that she had, and the Braum the games before that. So she feels comfortable on some of these champions. I'm assuming that Ren is going to feel great on this Thresh. That being said, this might be a new experiment for them that we're going to get to see, and it could fail disastrously. So we have to wait and see, get in game, see how comfortable they are on the champion, and see how they end up executing on everything. With Ascena, though, you've got a little bit of leeway. As she starts to scale up, get those soul stacking, she gets that increased AD, she gets that increased distance, she gets that increased crit. She gets all those skills. So as the game goes on further and further, that Ascena gets just that little bit more protection as she gets a little bit more distance, a little bit more range in her kit. She's able to do a little bit more without having to step up further and further. So definitely going to come down to whether they're able to make this strategy work. Like I said, they've got a lot of CC on the side of Imperial Gaming. If they can execute on that, I think they've got a really solid team to get a W here. That being said, if Crystal Cave Gaming can get in there, you've got a Set who can get to the back line. You've got a Poppy who can take people out of the fight relatively quickly. You've got two very mobile carries that can get in there, and you've got a Karma who's wonderful for team fights. So just as easily as IG can execute on their team plan to layer that CC, it can be just as easily disrupted by Crystal Cave Gaming. So I want to see how they do. The first couple minutes will tell us a lot, where the junglers decide to go, how this Ezreal's played, how this Thresh is played. So we'll be looking for that, and we'll see how they get into it in the game.
A lot of big questions to be answered here as we move into the first game between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, that's going to be a bugbear tonight, and IG Imperial Gaming here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to move to a quick break as we wait out this spectator delay. We are back, everyone. We got a little bit of drama right here to start off as we have the 5-point going down on either side in this first game between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming. Some damage being traded down onto Swaggy P from Ender from Hegemon. But overall, I think that we won't be seeing a lot more coming through before these first few camps are cleared out. Charles Elroy, what do you think we're going to be seeing in these first few levels?
In the first few levels, I want to pay attention to where we see the junglers going, right? That's going to tell us a lot about where they want to put their prio here in the early game. I definitely want to see, top laners have a tendency just to bonk each other on the head and just kind of do their thing. I do kind of want to see how these top laners play out, who gets the prio, where we're going to see push come from. Because if that Jax is able to get a little bit of push and really start to scale up and make his presence felt elsewhere on the map, that could be disgusting. And then, the bot lane. I really want to see how that Ezreal is playing. If he's stepping up and being aggressive, or if we're going to see him kind of step back a little bit and be smart about where he's positioned himself. So that's what I'm keeping my eyes on.
Jax and disgusting, those are two terms that I often hear in the same sentence together. We are going to be getting opposite side starts for CCGR and IG here. Ender for Hegemon deciding to go to that top side set, giving a little bit of a leash. And meanwhile, we have Vi going to begin on that blue buff with Paradigm Shift and Rin getting the leash down on that side of the map. But overall, that doesn't really lead to much of a shift in priority. It looks like everyone's relatively even as we move through these first few levels, trying to see who gets to the level advantage where.
And yeah, I mean, it looks like everything's relatively equal, as you said. Top laners doing top laner things, just trading back some bonks on the head. It does look like level 2 hits earlier on the side of IG here, so we're going to see Senna and Thresh feeling a little bit more comfortable. And that's where they want to be, right? They want to be the dominating presence in this matchup. They want to keep that Ezreal on the back foot, keep them under turret, don't allow them to step up or do anything, so that they can keep the pressure on them. So good job from IG so far in this lane.
Yeah, Imperial Gaming knows that Hold My Poodle is on the Karma, which is a pick that oftentimes is utilized as a lane bully. We are getting a little bit of an extension, which leads to Ender for Hegemon trying to get a gank down onto this lane. Paradigm Shift going to take a bit of damage, but overall, this is probably the best that you can hope for. You get a revealing of where the Poppy is on the map, not any summoner spells being burned on the side of Imperial Gaming, and ultimately Paradigm Shift is able to kind of immediately refocus back onto the lane. We do have Poppy coming around again, maybe trying to go for the gank one more time, but this time Rin is going to be there to work on the zoning. As we got some drama up here in the top lane as well. Shielded Punch going to come out. Bop Diff going to be able to get a bit of a bop down onto Noble Bark, but this is just classic trading. As you said, a lot of bonking on the head here in the top lane. Set notably starting without items, I just realized, unless we have a spectator bug. What do you think about that interesting choice, Charles?
I mean, it could be the that auto. Oh, I saw it fly under and hit him right underneath the turret. Rough run for the Corki. Oh, here we go. It's some action in the bot lane.
Yeah, there's going to be an E after W coming down, going to grab the Rin here, going to even out the score as well. Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby happy to take down the support on the side of Imperial Gaming here to answer back for their fallen comrade in the top lane. I mean, in the mid lane. Sorry, my brain is all frazzled from the fact that the set, I don't think, has any items.
No, I don't think he does either. I mean, maybe it's this OP strategy that they got going on somewhere else. But to my knowledge, that's not a good play. So, got some action going on, but I don't think anything's going to happen there.
Vi charging up that Q, but Bop Diff giving a lot of respect. Also having vision of that bush means that they were able to start backing off relatively early. Rin returning back to the lane, just going to be moving through the river here. Contending for that vision, the classic. And, for not having items, we still have Bop Diff up a little bit of CS, still has a huge wave shoving in, and look at how much Noble Bark is actually tanking here. It's trying to maybe leash the wave, keep it in a spot that keeps Bop Diff in the area in order for Vi to try to come in for a gank again. But overall, just some really interesting choices by both sides of the fight there from CCGR and IG in the top as we get a flay coming out here onto Poppy. Yeah, continuous pressure down here in the bot lane. Darth Crow going to take a little bit of poke, but trading back in kind onto Paradigm Shift here. Once again, a lot of drama, a lot of contestation, but not too much in the way of big events.
And like you mentioned earlier, right? we're going to see lots of fights going on in these games. So I'm liking the aggression. I am a little nervous about the amount of time that Poppy spent in this bot lane. She's now down about a camp or so. Her back wasn't as strong as it could be. She got boots and a ruby crystal. Meanwhile, Vi coming back with a sheen, so she's going to feel really good if she gets into a fight with somebody, if she runs into that Poppy in the jungle somewhere. So I don't know if it was the right choice or not. It did get him a kill though, so you take it for what it's worth. Here we go.
Azure Fire going to be able to dive into the bot lane, get a big charm off onto Hold My Poodle, but ultimately force a flash out without securing the kill for the side of Imperial Gaming. Corki, meanwhile, having taken that back into the mid lane, is just going to be able to head up there, try to get some free farm in, while Ahri is gone as we get a more of an approach. Ender for Hegemon using that Predator and W to get in onto Paradigm Shift and Rin. Both are able to get out. Once again, no Summoner Cells expended in avoiding the Poppy gank on the side of Imperial Gaming. That is a lot of really great resonance and just ability to communicate with the team to ensure that they're able to rotate to the right plays across the map and just generally not blow unnecessary sums. That's going to really be beneficial as we move deeper on into this game. Charm coming out, Q also going to hit onto Ender for Hegemon, but no kill. Azure Fire just going to return back to the mid lane after helping the first dragon get secured by the side of Imperial Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, we did see the heal and the exhaust used from the side of Crystal Cave Gaming, but like you said, no summer spells used from Paradigm Shift or Ren. They're doing a really good job of playing these fights out, being aware of the Poppy, and using their ability set to get out of there. You've got the W coming out of Senna to give them some movement speed. You've got the Flay if you need to get her off of you. You've got some nice sustain coming out from that Senna as well, so that if they get into these fights, they can trade out a little bit longer than the other side. I'm really liking what we're seeing here so far. Even though Ezreal has a kill and he's up a little bit in CS, it still feels like IG's in the driver's seat for most of these fights and most of these engages. And just want to point out, we do see Bop Diff finally getting some items. He feels pretty good about life now. He's a real boy.
That Phage going to be taken on the first back for the set. I do want to note, though, that while it is the case that IG has been able to comfortably ward off the huge camp being set up by Ender for Hegemon there in the bot lane from the side of CCGR, that the roam from Azure Fire has cost a little bit of farm. Corki already at 70 CS, going to be able to get the charm, though, trying to get some gold traded back onto them within that lane. Official Jesus going to be going down for a second time. So even with that CS lead beginning to form on the side of Corki, whenever Azure Fire is in the lane, that's some disastrous play for the side of CCGR as we get another approach on the bot lane. Dark Crow GC going to be able to take down Paradigm Shift here after a big W into E from Ender for Hegemon. They really do not want this ADC to start scaling up from the side of Imperial Gaming.
No, you can see it in the plays. Ender for Hegemon has been bought. I think this is the third time, and that's probably the fourth or fifth actual like rotation into the lane that we've seen come out of this Poppy. They are doing everything they can to set this Senna back as much as possible, and that's the first time it's been successful. Is just here around the 9-minute mark. They finally got a kill off of the strategy for that Senna. So you know, I don't know that it's the right choice. We're seeing this Azure Fire though all over the map. We saw her down bot lane. We're about to see a nice, beautiful turret dive here, and here it goes. Take it away.
Azure Fire going to get the charm off, but with 3 people in the area, I don't even think that was necessary. And if Hegemon going to come back in, try to get a kill or something answered back onto that team, going to be able to use that E to continue to keep Noble Bark under the tower. That is going to be a turret shot, finally wiping out the top laner on the side of IG, and Ender for Hegemon going to have to be up here to receive that Herald, smashing into their top tower.
Azure Fire, I want to point out, played on... Ooh, we got more action going on.
Yeah, Charm is unfortunately going to whiff right there, but that approach from Ender for Hegemon may have been a little bit too eager. But once again, Official Jesus just going to be able to get that farm up in the mid lane, play like a Corki wants to.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the gold diff between these two mid laners. He's gotten a couple turrets. He's got a nice little CS lead. Down 2 kills, though. So I'd be interested to see where that gold diff lies for right now, because he is just continuing to pluck away on this mid turret unanswered and just collect more and more gold. I was going to point out real quickly, Azure Fire, first game of the season here, she was on the Ahri, went 2-1-7. So she's already on her way to making her presence known. And I think this is going to be an even bigger game for her this time.
Dashing forward, trying to get the charm down onto official Jesus, but look at how much damage is still being able to secure onto that champion, even without the landing of the REE. That is a really terrifying presence there in the mid lane. And even though official Jesus has gone down twice, that CS lead demonstrates the fact that they understand the workings of this matchup, and they're taking their opportunities when they can to continue to push forward, which is going to be really valuable for Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby as we move deeper on into this game. Speaking of CS difference, though, at the top lane right here, Noble Bark notably going up quite a considerable amount against Bo3. Jax obviously not usually the strongest early game champion here, but perhaps what we saw early with that lack of a buy to start off the game maybe has made Bo3's life a little bit harder, and therefore that is why we see the cessation of about 30 CS over to the side of Noble Bark.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. 30 CS. Ooh.
That was a big blast pan over the wall, trying to set up a kill, but I don't think that Swaggy P noticed the fact that we had the entirety of CCGR there in the area, ready to get that dragon. So that was kind of a kill for nothing, unfortunately, here. Azure Fire waiting the wings, going to be able to get the charm down and try to get some burst damage out onto the Corki. He's going to try to Valkyrie towards them, but Azure Fire going to be a little bit too deep after that attempted play. Big shutdown gold going to be going over to the set, trying to even up that presence that we talked about in the top lane right there. And that was a really solid set of plays from Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, able to pick up on the mistakes and overextensions that we saw from Imperial Gaming.
Huge swing in their favor. First off, that Vi had no vision. Now, obviously, it's very hard to anticipate that the set would have been down there, so I can't exactly fault her for that. But if you're going to blast cone over, you got to know at least have a good idea where that jungler's at, or have more prio in that lane. Unfortunately, she gets blown up, deleted immediately. It's a free Drake going over to the side of Crystal Cave Gaming. And then, you know, that set being there, the Ahri tries to get in, tries to get some damage on the court. He thought she had a nice pick, but then he survives. She doesn't have an escape route anymore. It ends up being a 2-for-0 trade in their favor, and they get the Drake. And now this gold lead has disappeared that was there. It's basically just a 500 or so gold difference in favor of IG, but closing quickly.
IG going to have to play a little bit more smart as we go deeper on here. They don't want to continue to make mistakes like that and give away the advantages that they have sought out here in the early game. That being said, you also have to look at who the gold is on. And frankly, if I'm Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, I might actually be happier given their position. A 3-0 Ezreal there in the bottom lane, being able to kind of enact the correct game plan by playing safely, playing around their jungler, and getting those kills early on onto the Senna and Thresh means that it's going to be making that AD carry's life a lot easier going forward here. We may be seeing the starts and buildings of a monster there for CCGR.
Definitely possible. He's already got his IE. He's stacking up towards his Mirror Mane. He's got a little bit of a CS lead. He's got a kill lead. He's now just going to chill in the mid lane. He's having a great time. I mean, if you're Darth Crow JC right now, you're feeling pretty good about how things are. Ooh.
That is a huge charm coming out. Azure Fire once again bush camping, getting the E down, and Hold by Poodle also going to be taken out here. The vision control just not on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, and that is going to cost them dearly as you have two going down there in the mid lane, including that shutdown onto the Ezreal that we were just talking about. And that's a lot of damage now traded onto that tower.
And as I was saying how comfortable he felt in mid lane, he did the exact thing I wouldn't want him to do, which is step up. Oh, we got some action on the top side now.
Yeah, ult coming down from Swaggy P, going to be able to take down the Corki, even with the 2-level difference there. Corki now 0-3, some action coming down on the bot side as well. Bo3 going down pretty low, but not as low as Noble Bark here. Teleport going to be forced out from elsewhere on the map here. Looks like that is not actually going to be answered fully, though, as Azure Fire is not going to be able to reach Bopdiff in time, who's happy to just kind of walk back towards tower. Now we have Ender for Hegemon waiting in the wings, trying to see if we get an overextension from the side of Imperial Gaming here. I think they spot out that Poppy with the W up, though, and are in turn just going to walk to those bushes, start backing. We are definitely beginning to see that evening out. We are starting to see some smarter plays, as I just called for, from Imperial Gaming. Man, these are some fast-paced plays that we've been seeing.
Yeah, back and forth. Every time we get a break, or at least we think we're going to get a break, somebody else starts a fight somewhere else on the map. Look at the damage coming out of that Ezreal, though, on the Paradigm Shift there. Absolutely chunking out that Senna. Now, she has some sustain, obviously, with her Q. She's got some help with the Thresh there, but if she gets caught out one or two main times, she's going to get burst down. So definitely got to be careful if you're that Senna. Looking around the map, though, that set really starting to hurt, and he's completed Hullbreaker, so he doesn't want anything to do with the rest of the team. His plan is to stay far away from everybody, split, and just try and be as annoying as possible, which is a beautiful plan for Set. So we'll watch to see how he executes on it. But so far, we've got our items coming in across the board. Everybody's looking pretty good so far. I mean, you got a 3,000 gold lead. IG really kind of stepping up here in that last half, getting a couple kills going their way. But so far, Cave Creek Gaming has done a great job of I'm sorry, Cave Creek. Crystal Cave Gaming has done a great job of answering back a lot of the time. So this is anybody's game right now. I'm excited that we've got such a back and forth match right now.
Action-packed and even. This is my kind of game, Charles Elroy. I do want to remark on some of the itemization that we do see on both sides here. Look at that diversity in bruiser itemization. 2 Divine Sunderers. Wow, incredible. I love the choices that you're able to build onto those champions. You're either doing that or Hullbreaker Rush, and we see both options showcased in the game. As we get a bit of action down here, we're going to get an early flash out of Noble Bark, but it's not going to be enough. That approach from Poppy just too strong, going to be able to get that catch into the wall, and that's ultimately going to be a kill going over to the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, evening up that kill score, but perhaps sacrificing a little bit of priority over River. Actually, I may have spoken too soon, as Poppy, just full confidence, going to be walking straight in there and look for a way to engage onto the enemy team. It looks like in turn, Imperial Gaming is going to see this happen, decide, hey, you know, we can give away this dragon. We got this Rift Herald. Let's get some charges down mid. Let's get a lot of priority across the map. We're about to move on into that realm of time right before Baron Nash responds, which means that this huge charge down the mid lane, uncontested basically, is going to be really valuable as we move on into the mid to late game.
Yeah, having those 2 mid lane turrets opened up gives the side of Imperial Gaming a lot of freedom. So that's kind of rough if you're on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming. On the flip side, though, they did get the second Drake. I think IG still comes out ahead on that trade, though. And they're going to definitely start to put more and more pressure across the map. They've got all the outer turrets, that mid-tier 2 turret down now. That packs a nice bit of gold, too, so it just kind of ballooned that gold lead in their favor just that little bit more. So even though they lost a man on the play, they're still feeling really good about that. And that's the thing I love about watching Imperial Gaming play so far, is that even when they find themselves in a little bit of a misstep, they're answering back. They're making a play somewhere across the map. Their macro is pretty good so far. So I want to keep watching them and see them playing like this over and over again. You know, if you see that Poppy on the top side, let's go make a play bot side. Let's make a dive. Let's put some pressure on them. Let's make them regret it and answer back for that. So Imperial Gaming definitely doing a good job. But this Crystal Cave Gaming, like I said, I didn't think they were going to be doing as well as they are into this game so far. So I'm so happy to eat my words and put my foot in my mouth a little bit, because it's made this a very fun game to watch.
And I think that for a lot of the champions, especially Corki and Ezreal on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, we are starting to see them get out of that danger zone. Sure, Corki may be 0-3, but at the same time, they are beginning to get their items online. That's already a Mana Immune and a Luden's Echo done for Corki, meaning that that's going to be a lot of damage, especially whenever they get package up. It looks like Ender for Hegemon may be trying to go for an engage here, popping that W, but ultimately that hook attempt from Rin going to stop them right in their tracks. That was close to a dead Poppy, though, right there. That was
very
a
close.
big charm coming out. Yeah, that's always something you have to be watching out for. The fact that Ari's 3-1 and has that and has 2 items completed as well means that she's a real threat on the Rift. Trying to follow up that hook with another charm right there. That combo is going to be deadly as we move deeper on into the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about in the pregame, is there's so much CC coming out of the side of Imperial Gaming that if one of those things lands, they can just start stacking that up one on top of another. That hook into the charm, that hook into the charm, into the root, into the knockup, into the root out of the jacks. Like, if it comes down to a solid team fight and you have somebody misstep, they're going to get blown up very, very quickly. So they've just really got to be mindful of that. Like you said, Poppy doing a great job, good awareness, having her W up, kind of, you know, dodge, ducking, dipping, dodging, and weaving, and all that stuff. But she's definitely got to be mindful of that, and the whole team does. Otherwise, they're going to get blown up. So far, so good. But yeah, that combo is going to get really rough in a team fight when somebody missteps.
Speaking of getting really rough, we have an ult from Vi immediately going down onto Official Jesus, just trying to get a bit of farm in that side lane, but Swaggy P and Azure Fire just not going to let him have it for free. That's an 0-4 Corki right there with no real chance to fight back against these 2 champions from the side of Imperial Gaming. That's going to give them a little bit of priority on the top side of the map as well. I wanted to talk to you, Charles, as we kind of move into this lull time before the next dragon spawns, over whether or not you think this Hullbreaker rush on set is going to be valuable, because we haven't really seen him being able to successfully split all that well. But speaking of success, Azure Fire going down pretty low here. Heal gonna have to be popped from Paradigm Shift as we get Hegemon back into the area. Ooh. Big Ezreal ult coming through that basically chunks Paradigm Shift down to half right there. Azure Fire and Paradigm set running for the hills. Rin gonna try to act as a front line now, but that's a lot of pressure coming down the mid lane for the side of CCGR. Senna coming back to trying to maybe find a little bit of poke onto them. This is a very scrappy fight. Azure Fire gonna go incredibly low, having to pop a barrier right there. The shield coming out. Swaggy P now there. Ender for Hegemon going to be able to try to eat into Paradigm Shift, but ult is ultimately going to come out here. Ender for Hegemon going super low. That Q from Swaggy P going to be able to take them down here. Bopdiff now trying to get something down in the mid lane alone here. Going to be able to take down Paradigm Shift, but that's a double kill going over for the jungler on the side of Imperial Gaming.
Man, take a breath. I feel like that was a fight that went on forever. Yeah, a lot of back and forth there. Heck, Official Jesus had died just before then. Like, that's the most delayed unofficial penta that you could have possibly asked for. But huge back and forth there. Set does trade that top turret and teleports in. I thought he was going to get immediately blown up, but then he is able to go ahead and actually trade over a kill to Paradigm Shift before he gets taken off, at least giving them a little action on the play. They're going to trade the dragons over here. Ezreal has had some huge ults, though, like you mentioned earlier. But just so much back and forth there. Azure Fire taken so low several times. That barrier just barely keeping them alive. It's been a huge back and forth game so far. That fight was just so close, and then it just snowballed into Imperial Gaming's favor. If that goes a little bit different, if Set's there a moment or two earlier, if Azure Fire gets taken out on that Ahri, just a little bit more damage or missteps, that could have gone completely different. Here's some action for you.
Yeah, the fights don't stop here. We're getting a little bit of a split fight this time. Swaggy P trying to get into the backline to Azure Fire, who's going to try to take down the rest of the team. But so many people on the side of CCGR are just falling in time. A double kill over there for the side of Azure Fire. And basically an ace being completed as Bopdiff is sent running for the hills. Azure Fire, just so much move speed, is going to miss the charm, having to take the Lantern back over. So this probably means that you aren't getting the full ace, but what you are getting is an attempt at the Baron for the side of Imperial Gaming.
And why not? You've got 15 seconds till anybody else is up. You've got all the prio in the world. You've just won 2 team fights, hand over foot in your favor. You're feeling in the driver's seat 100%. And I do want to give a little bit of compliment to Bopdiff. Nice little sidesteps on that engage. You know, the charm went wide, the hook went wide. Bopdiff just kind of in there doing his thing, you know, distracting as much as he can. Look at that.
Yeah, that is a lot of big jukes, and finally Azure is going to be taken down here. That is a lot of hard work in order to get a day's pay for Bo3 here, as they're going to try to re-engage after the Baron falls here. Actually, it went to the side of CCGR. Did we just miss a steal coming through? Swaggy P going to be also sent running. This is going to be a reverse ace and a huge switch of favors for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. What happened there?
It was the ult. I saw it pop up in I recognized it, but I didn't process it because everything else was going on. That Ezreal ult, when it connected with the Azir Fire, also happened to connect with the Baron and get them the Baron there. And this could be a rough way to start to learn the... this could be a rough way for the second half of the game to go if you're on the side of Imperial Gaming. You just lost Baron. You just lost a huge team fight. You're feeling pretty a lot of pressure right now if you're on the side of Imperial Gaming to step up and kind of get things back in your favor.
Charles, I'm questioning reality right now. How did I miss the Baron steal occurring? This is a wild game, the likes of which you only see here in the Aegis Guardians League, obviously. We get an ult coming down onto Poppy now. Big Charm also going to be able to follow up. That CC you've been talking about all game, once again coming through. It looks like Imperial Gaming is not deterred by the last few minutes and what occurred in them here. They are continuing to pick fights, trying to get kills off onto CCGR, and here looks like here comes another official. Jesus gonna have the Valkyrie over the wall. That's a big dive coming through. Noble Bark going to be able to take down the Corki. 1 and 6 now for the mid laner on the side of CCGR. That's 2 Baron buffs gone. Going to be really valuable here as they continue to try to reestablish a dominance across the map.
Yeah, I mean, great play there at Baron. The steal coming out of Ezreal, again, like you said, just unreal. And then the team fight goes in their favor. But now the Baron buff is kind of being squandered. You've got pressure coming into the mid lane. You've got set in the top lane, but that's only going to do so much realistically when you've got 5 people knocking at the front door of your base. You know, Noble Burke, not afraid to turret dive that Corki. Like you said, 1 and 6 has the most CS right now, but that's about all he's done so far is CS. He hasn't really had much of a presence in these team fights, which is not what you want out of your Corki. You want your Corki there, getting those kills, getting that gold, cutting people off, dropping that Valkyrie to get some additional damage, just burning through when he's got the passive. You want to see your Corki really establishing his dominance, and so far that has just not been the case, which I think is what's hurting Crystal Cave Gaming the most right now.
Even though that hurts, I think that the fact that we're seeing that gold lead once again even up means that a big team fight in either direction is really going to be swaying the tempo from here on out. Don't count out anyone quite yet, and realize that even though it is the case that official Jesus hasn't been performing too hot so far, that doesn't change the fact that they have the ability to do a lot later on. And here comes a big fight coming in here. That teleport Noble Bark trying to get someone killed down, but that's a big ultimate. Bo3 going to be able to jump right back into the rest of the team with that showstopper and get the kill down onto his fellow top laner. That's a double kill now coming out as well. Azure Fire gonna have to go golden here, but Ezreal is well timing their combo in order to get them killed off. CCGR once again reestablishing dominance. This is the fight that I was just talking about. Rin trying to get away, gonna try to hit that blast plant, gonna just walk right by it as Bo3 maybe kind of walk towards the bush for no real reason. Gonna maybe give up on the chase and just push it in that mid wave and turret. That's a 3rd dragon now for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming. They're going to be looking for a soul here.
I mean, what are we watching? Literally, as you say it, don't count them out. One team fight can get them back in. Boom, it happens. I might have to ask you to play the lottery for me tonight if it keeps going this way. Every time you say something, I feel like moments later we get to see it. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. We do see Crystal Cave Gaming win that team fight, again, hands down. They trade over, I think, 1 member in favor of 4. Take that all day long. You also blew several summoner spells there, flashes galore. You got the stopwatch out of the Ahri there on the Zhonya, so now that's going to be down for a couple more seconds. It'll probably be up by the next fight, but if there's a chance you can get a pick on her, you might be able to take advantage of that. And so they're really feeling pretty good about this. And as this game keeps going on longer and longer, as long as they can keep even keel, eventually those death timers are going to get up to a minute. And Crystal Cave Gaming might be able to put a hurting on this Imperial Gaming side because they've got an exposed inhib now. They stole the first Baron. They've got more Drakes. They're really starting to feel good about where they're at in this game. And eventually, as you mentioned, that Corki is going to become dangerous. So far, he's not feeling as dangerous, you know, like misdemeanor level, but he's going to get in the felony range very soon as he starts to complete more and more items. So looking forward to that, because as soon as he steps up and starts getting that pressure that he needs to be exerting, I think Crystal Cave Gaming is really going to have a lot of the pressure and a lot of the priority they need to get the W here.
Yeah, official Jesus moving up the ranks of Runeterra's most wanted here with the crimes they are committing on the Rift. We have a lot of different attempts at death bushes here. Originally, CCGR sitting in that bush right next to Pixel trying to get something done against the Jax in the area. And meanwhile, we see Imperial Gaming thinking, hey, I could do that too, and moving near to their Raptor Pit. That is going to be an engage attempt down onto Azure Fire, but Official Jesus is going to go really low. It's a big split fight now as we're getting a 4v4 one place. Official Jesus is going to be able to take down Azure Fire. That is that Corki power coming through. Going to be able to rotate up to the rest of this fight, and it looks like with that in mind, Imperial Gaming realizes that they can't continue to push forward with one of their big damage dealers out of it. Is this going to be a started Baron here? It looks like they're burger flipping, baby.
He's going for it. They've got a power play right now. They have man advantage across the map. Your Corki, oh, we got a fight still going on. Here goes.
Yeah, here comes the engage once more. Big hook coming down. Rin isn't going to be able to continue to land it there as they're going to go low themselves. Paradigm shift moving into the area as we have Noble Bard going down. Ezreal also getting a kill. This is huge for CCGR. They started that Baron. They were able to turn, continue that fight going forward. And it looks like this is going to be a second secure of this big purple worm.
I mean, unless something crazy happens and we see a steal back from the side of Imperial Gaming this time, this is now Crystal Cave firmly in the driver's seat. Beautiful job, by the way. Kudos to Official Jesus. You got 2 solid kills in that fight. I thought the engage went sour at first on to Azure Fire on that Ahri. And then I saw his name pop up with the kill as the fight continued on in the jungle, and it was like, good job. And then he goes in and he gets a second kill in that fight, and he's starting to step up. 500 gold bounty, most CS in the game. He's got some kills, he's got some assists, he's finally getting all of his items. He's 1 item away from full build. This is what they needed, and as it's coming to fruition, now they've got Baron. Now they're going to get these team fights going in their way. We're going to see them setting up for Prio on Drag popping up here in about a minute. And IG is really starting to wonder what they can do to get back in this game. They need a solid pick on somebody, particularly if they get that Poppy out so it's not a 50-50 when the Drag comes up, or if they can take out that Corki or that Ezreal so that they get a lot of the damage taken away from this team fight. And here they are set up for it. We'll see if anything happens.
Clustering, waiting to see if Rin may be able to land a hook over a wall. That blast plan is going to come out. Noble Bard going to be able to get it and engage onto the hooked Poppy down there in the bot side. But Official Jesus is going to go on a rampage, but going to get chased down. You need to take that Ahri out first or you're going to get popped. Bot Diff is going to run forward, try to get the buy. The Q not going to be able to come out. That is going to be an ultimate landed onto the enemy jungler here. And now Noble Bark is sent running once more. You're getting them towards the tower, trying to get some turret shots down onto the enemy team. But CCGR is just going to tank that with the Poppy, take down the turret in kind. And now they have the ability to push. We see the backs coming out of both Azure Fire and Rin as they start to siege this bot side of the map. Dragons also spawn. This will be sold for the side of CCGR, but they want to push their advantage as they have it here, getting that inhib down before rotating back, given the fact that they have that man advantage. Only the Corki is down on their side. Beautiful. Oh, and that's another engage coming through. Double stun here. Rin is going to be able to drag up the box, try to get a little space between them and the rest of the team. But Boptif running forward completely undeterred. Going to get a bunch of turret shots dropped on them as Paradigm Shift is going to finally spawn back here, but is still able to zone the entirety of IG off of a continued play here as we get the march of CCGR towards that dragon. Corki already on it. That's a lot of damage. That is going to be sold for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby.
Here comes some teleports, though.
That fights just continue here. That teleport going to go absolutely nowhere. Darth Crow JC waiting alongside the rest of the team for the Ahri to pop up. I don't know what kind of hero play they're going for there, but I am loving the wildness.
desperation makes you do wild things, right? They're down almost 7k gold. They've lost team fight after team fight. They've lost Inhib. They've lost Soul. They've lost Baron. If you're on the side of Imperial Gaming, you're unfortunately you're not thinking right. You're thinking, what do I need to do to get back into this? Instead of like, how can we slow it down, slow the bleeding, get back into the game. Instead, you try to make hero plays, and that's what happens. Zerfire gets absolutely demolished upon arrival, and it doesn't go their way at all. It's just, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get where they're coming from. If you know you get scared, what do you do? But the truth of the matter is, they've got to come back with an answer here. And right now, they don't seem to have it.
Showstopper coming out. Boptif has the 2-level lead on Noble Bark, but Swaggy P is in the area. I think that Hullbreaker is not going to be enough to make the difference here. That is a shutdown going onto the set here. It looks like Official Jesus, though, is going to be able to push forward. Tries to get a Valkyrie going in alongside Poppy. That is a huge kill down onto the Senna in the top lane. We're going to see the force backs out of Swaggy P and Noble Bark here. They're going to finally approach the area. Q coming out, trying to get an engage down onto Official Jesus and get that damage flow stopped, but that's not going to be enough. That is the jungler going down on the side of Imperial Gaming, and now Noble Bark, one of the last people left alive to work as a frontline here. Azure Fire just going to sit back in base as they watch their Nexus fall. CCGR going to try to take this first game cleanly here. 36 minutes, crazy plays across the map, and the first victory of the entire split for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby.
Beautiful job out of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby there. I think that set did a great job. He kept that Vi, he kept that Jax busy up on the top side, and it was just long enough for the rest of the team to go in there, lay down some damage, get a kill, and that way when they started popping back up, they were just able to get reset after reset like a set of dominoes. They just kept killing one person after another as they ran in. So great job out of Crystal Cave Gaming. My apologies to the entire organization for even doubting when this game started. And very good job to Official Jesus for stepping up there and making things happen. Rough start to the game, but certainly redeemed based on the second half of gameplay coming out of that Corki.
Yeah, Official Jesus definitely coming into their own there near the end of the game. As soon as we saw that solo kill down onto Ari, I realized this is going to be the beginning of the end. CCGR are going to be in the driver's seat because their scaling comes to take effect. Obviously, Jax is a terror that we can see continue to pop off as we move deeper on into the game, and we did see them be able to put up a big fight against the side of Boptif there from CCGR, but that was at the cost of just losing their whole Nexus at the end of the day. Their staggered backs just meant that you didn't have coherent frontline for the side of Imperial Gaming. And throughout the whole match, I think that we saw a lot of overconfidence from that side. Overconfidence that may be tied to both the fact that these are ultimately gold players in a gold league, and they want to continue to push advantages and fight whenever they can. But there also may be a little bit of overconfidence due to the fact that we have the consummate leaders of the league right here on the side of Imperial Gaming. And they see an 0-3 team and they say to themselves, I think that we got this.
And then it turns out, no, you don't. Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of confidence coming out of Imperial Gaming. And I think a lot of unforced errors, right? You know, if anybody's a baseball fan, you got some of those errors that just didn't need to happen. The blast cone from Vi over across the wall into a huge team just waiting for. That teleport from Ari into a huge team just waiting for. Just lots of those little things that in the moment don't feel as bad. And then when it happens, you're like, well, now we're a man down and that's Baron. Now we're a man down and that's Soul. Now we're a man down and that's Inhib. And those things start to stack up and add up. And it definitely added up for a win going over to Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby on that side, where they felt good. They were in the right place at the right time. They had that late game insurance policy on the Corki that Ezreal got big, and they were able to execute on their plan more so than IG. So really good playing coming out of Crystal Cave Gaming.
100% Charles Elroy. We are going to be moving to a very quick break here before the second draft that we will be seeing here in this match between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming. Incredible action-packed first game, and I can't imagine that tempo is going to slow down anytime soon. Make sure you don't go anywhere.
Everybody panic! Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. Da-da-da-da. Aw, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Welcome back to the Aegis Guardians League. This is week 4. We are in game 2 here between Imperial Gaming and Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. After quite the banger of the first match here, we had a Baron steal, we had crazy teleports that didn't go anywhere, we had fights up the wazoo, and we are going to be seeing a set of bans here that may reflect the craziness of game 1. Charles Elroy, what are you looking to see out of the second draft?
I mean, it's really, after the last game, I wouldn't be surprised to see anything happen. The truth is, the Nami coming through, that makes sense. I'd be looking for maybe an Ari or a Corki ban. That Corki, even though he wasn't super influential early game, certainly became a threat late game, and definitely, there it is. Voila. Poppy, again, as you mentioned, was a huge influence, so that makes sense to me. I'm going to be excited. I want to see a nice solid pick come out for the side of Darth Crow JC. Darth Crow JC was just really, really impressive that game. Great early kills, great Baron steal with that Ezreal ult. Like, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, I'm sure. But I really want to see them prio him a good champ, and there goes his Ezreal as we speak. So we'll have to see what they decide to put him on next.
Yeah, Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby going to be side swapping here now on the red. but it looks like they're going to be taking that comfort pick, that same reflection of what we saw in the first game, down there into the bot lane here. Darth Crow JC going to return to that Ezreal hold my poodle 195, going to be on the Karma. Worked out for them last time, and given the fact that you basically had their jungler hard camping for the early game, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a reflection of that same play style coming out of CCGR here in round 2. It worked the first time, so why try to fix it? Meanwhile, a little bit of a change up here on Imperial Gaming side. Gonna go with that Vayne. Obviously, a big flex pick can be going into the top lane, but most likely, given the fact that we have a Kindred already selected, that is probably going to be going bot alongside this Lulu being locked in for Rin here. You don't really want to have 3 marksmen, so I imagine that we're just going to be getting a more classic bruiser or fighter top lane.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I love the Lulu pick with Vayne. Lulu is one of those champions that goes so well with some of those hyper carries. Vayne, the Jinx, the Kog'Maw, just those attack speed based champions where she can buff you up but do a great job of peeling for you given the polymorph. Are we going to see an Ivern locked in?
Oh awesome. My.
Cool. So we'll see that. The Ezreal Karma, though, that was my fault. It is going back over to Crystal Cave Gaming. You're right, they did swap sides. So I'm excited to see Darth Crow back on the Ezreal there. Vayne might be a good answer, though, here. You know, she's another mobile ADC. You've got the Lulu, which is a beautiful support that pairs well with that. And I would not be surprised if we see the rinse and repeat jungler hanging out in the bot lane for a couple rounds. That first 10 minutes down there a couple times just to get Darth Crow up and feeling strong and going, and then start making your presence known elsewhere.
Yeah, Ivern maybe not as much of a gank threat as Poppy was, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not they try to reflect that same kind of play style for Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. For the second wave of bans coming through, it looks like the Ahri is going to be taken out. They really don't want to see Azure Fire continue to play that hyper-mobile pick there, and it looks like the last sets of bans are going to be the Set and the Akali, so a lot of reflections of what we saw in Game 1 in terms of deciding to take off a lot of those big playmaking picks that we saw from either side. A Xerath going to be locked in here, probably going to be going into the mid lane for CCGR, and in turn, I kind of think I want to see a tank as their last selection to go there into the top lane, but we'll just have to wait and see. IG waiting on their on this pick for the mid lane of themselves. Gonna hover the Rise, obviously a pretty good one, has the ability to use their realm warp to get around the map alongside their team pretty quickly here. That's ultimately going to be confirmed and locked in. Perhaps also something that you could flex into the top lane, but on both sides now, I'm seeing a distinct lack of tankiness here, so I think that we'll probably be seeing a typical top lane coming through.
I agree. If they don't get a front line here, I think they leave themselves really open up in these team fights. There's your tankiness right there, and that's an Amumu.
These drafts never cease to surprise me. Where is that Amumu going?
That's what I'm wondering. I would assume.
Is this Kindred bot lane?
I don't want to assume anything. Is the Kindred going mid? Is the Kindred going jungle? Is the Amumu going top? Is it Amumu support? Is the Lulu going top? What are we watching? Yarko, what are we watching right now? I don't know.
Well, for those of you just tuning in, you're watching Aegis Guardians round 2 between Crystal Cave Gaming and Imperial Gaming. But yeah, to answer your question of what are we watching in a more rhetorical sense, I have absolutely no clue. So much flex potential out of the side of Imperial Gaming here. Definitely trying to send a little bit of uncertainty into the side of Crystal Cave Gaming in terms of what to select. Ultimately going to be locking in that Camille though.
I mean, yeah, Crystal Cave Gaming, I see their team. I see their plan. You know, Camille, solid, mobile, does a great job of trading in lane, a great lane presence, beautiful split push, but also wonderful team fight. You've got the Xerath, who has great distance, great damage output. You've got the Karma Ezreal. We just saw him execute on that. The Ivern, I'm not the biggest fan of Ivern, but, you know, I love to be proven wrong as I was last game. On the side of IG, though, I'm just so interested to see where all of this goes so I can see what their plan is.
And luckily, as we move here into the client draft, we should hopefully get a little bit more confirmation about exactly what is going to be going on. We are going to basically go to a little bit of a mix-up here, though. For those of you who may not be in the know about this, we have had a reported client bug regarding Ivern, especially if we see them in the jungle, where basically whenever Ivern clears a camp, the entirety of the game crashes, at least on the side of the spectators. In-game, everything is going to go pretty smoothly here. So I think that probably what you are going to be seeing after we complete this draft phase is going to be a kind of extended break, unfortunately. We are going to come back if there will be a Game 3, but otherwise we hope to have a little bit of analysis and discussion about the game afterwards. But for the time being, now that we are seeing Ender for Hegemon on that champion, I think that unfortunately we may not be able to spectate and play through this whole game.
And I do, while we're talking about it, since we're not going to be able to spectate the game, I want to point out that we do get to see the Rise going to the top side. Amumu is going in the jungle, and Kindred is going mid. After everything was said and done for, that's how that craziness shakes out. Not how I would have expected it, but it's what we got. So yeah, after this draft phase and the client load up, we are going to take a break, and then we'll see what we're able to do from there.
Yeah, unfortunate circumstances all around here, but we want to ensure that everyone is able to choose the champions that they want to, and we want to preserve a level of diversity within the league itself, which is why we have decided within Aegis to not actually remove the Ivern from competitive play. We want to allow teams to select it if they so desire, but ultimately that just means that we will have to go on to that extended break and we won't be able to see this game play out fully. I had a little bit of hope in my heart that we were going to see like a Camille jungle and an Ivern mid there. That would obviously lead to a lot of messiness in terms of the draft, but given the fact that an Ivern mid is not really going to be taking out any of those camps, we could have seen this game play to completion.
You know, and here's the thing though. As you said, we want the players to be able to play what they're comfortable on. This isn't like a Riot bug that, you know, like with the Arya with the Victor that we saw a couple weeks ago, where it's just like they don't pick them or it's gonna screw up the game. The gameplay is fine for the players, and that's the important part for this. So it's just inconvenient that we're not able to spec it at this point. I am seeing that we're going to try and spectate it on our end. And if we're able to get through the first camp clear, then we might bring it back. So don't tune out or anything like that. Stay with us, because we do want to try and present the game to you. And if we can, we will. But if we don't come back after an extended break, don't be surprised, as we will just wait for Game 3 if we get to see a Game 3. Hopefully we do. And we'll go from there. But they're about ready to load onto the Rift now. So we'll get that break started here shortly. I'm excited to watch the game, though. I wish we had the opportunity because I like the Kindred mid. I think that's an interesting pick. I love that he's going to be able to roam to get some of those marks. And he's definitely going to be a very mobile mid laner in this game. I would expect to see him exerting his presence across the map. Rise in the top lane into Camille. He'll be able to push that wave relatively quickly. And kind of keep her hopefully on the back foot a little bit there. And that Vayne Lulu, I love Lulu. I want to go out and say it like for Valentine's Day, Lulu, please. I love you. She's just such a good support in my opinion. She offers, like I said, she offers that polymorph. She offers her ult to just make sure that if something happens, you've got that in there. She can always speed you up, give you attack speed, slow the person down. Like she's like Thresh to me. She's just got such a diverse kit to offer her ADC, that she can both peel and engage for people, and I love that about her. And she just pairs really well with those hyper carries. Like I said, the Kog'Maw, the Jinx, the Vayne, those attack speed based ADCs. And so I really, really like that pick and that bot lane combo. I think it will be interesting to see how at the 15-minute mark, the 20, the 25-minute mark, that Vayne and that Lulu start to scale up versus the Ezreal and the Karma, who are going to feel pretty good, but I think as the game goes on, feel a little bit rougher as time goes on in the game. So we'll have to see how that gets executed on.
Yeah, for those of you just tuning in here, this is going to be game 2 between Imperial Gaming on blue side, Crystal Cave Gaming on the red side. Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby coming out the victors in that first match in what was a close nail-biter of a set with some incredible plays on either side. For those of you who may not know, as we talked about before, Ivern is bugged in Spectator Client, which means that we may not be able to cast this game for you all, unfortunately. But we are going to move to a break here. Don't go anywhere, because just in case Riot has pulled some magic, or just generally our computers survive, and we see the first camp go down without Spectator going wild, we may in fact be coming back here. So once again, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned here in the Aegis Guardians League. It is a somber day here in the Aegis Guardians League as we are here to report that in the second game between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming, that unfortunately the selection of Ivern by CCGR has led to some chaos within the client. Whenever Ivern goes to free a camp, he also frees the computer from the bonds and shackles that it is held onto, and its soul leaves its body as the entire client goes down. So unfortunately, what this means is that we will be watching in the wings, waiting to see what happens here in this second game. And if we do go to a game 3, we'll be right back with that broadcast. Otherwise, for the time being, grab a snack, grab a drink, lay back, see what's going to happen. Maybe check out some of the other streams from these fantastic amateur leagues that we have been seeing popping up throughout the entirety of Twitch. And you all have a good night. You may not have suspected it, but we are back here, everyone, in Game 3 between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming. We, in fact, are going to be moving on. We haven't been able to get much information about what exactly went down in round 2, but in my mind, it will be back-to-back pentakills, everyone just A-ramming all the time, open Nexus on both sides, and in the final moments, Imperial Gaming were barely able to clutch out the win here. You can't tell me otherwise. I will not go back and look at that replay. That being said, we are moving on into the draft here. Charles Elroy, what are you hoping to witness this time around?
The game. That would be a wonderful place to start. I'd love to watch the game. But that being said, I have hopes to see a great back and forth series. Obviously, so far, or a big back and forth game. So far in the series, we're 1-1. Crystal Cave Gaming had a great game one where it was neck and neck the entire time. Team fights went back and forth. And then they finally squeaked out a win there at the end. As you said, in my mind, I can only imagine that's what happened in this last game. So I'd really love to see just a great final game in the series. We do see the Vayne ban coming out. In my mind, that tells me Vayne popped off and just went absolutely ham in the last game. So I'm hoping that's what that means, since we're seeing the ban come through there.
Yeah, on the side of Imperial Gaming, we saw Vayne and Lulu together, which is obviously a recipe for a hyper-carrying disaster if that lane gets out of hand here. It looks like they're going to take Rin back off of the Nami yet again here, so we aren't going to be getting a repetition of either of the games so far here. And Imperial Gaming going to take that Corki out for the last choice here as we move on into first pick.
I love that they keep banning out Rin. You know, whenever I play Clash with my friends and I get a ban like designed towards me, it always makes me feel good, right? Like it makes me feel like, yeah, I'm the threat that they see. And so for Nami to get banned all 3 games of the series, Ren's just got to be grinning ear to ear saying, okay, that's a wasted ban because I can play something else and I'm decent on it. So I love that for the side of Imperial Gaming. We see the Karma locked in though. 3rd game in a row, we get to see this Karma.
And the question is, will the Ezreal be what follows for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby? We saw them pop off in game 1, especially with the assistance of Ender for Hegemon there, just camping that bot lane on repeat, getting a ton of pressure down, and it looks like we're getting a shakeup on the side of Imperial Gaming here. Twitch obviously can jungle, can support, can do a bunch of crazy things, but most likely we're going to be seeing them in the AD carry role, as in fact they are going to be selecting the Lulu.
Yeah, I think Twitch Lulu, another great combo there. Assuming that Twitch is going in the bot lane, like I'd love to see a River Twitch game. That would just be fun to cast. But I don't think we're that lucky. We'll probably see Twitch here in the bot lane. And Lulu obviously was, you know, a great pick for Rin earlier in the season, went 0-1-10, so did a great job on the Lulu earlier. I'm excited to see paradigm shift on the Twitch because they also played Twitch earlier, went 11-6-9 earlier in the season. So definitely a threat coming out of those two. A little switch up here though. There's your curveball. We're not going to get to see the Ezreal. It's going to be Kai'Sa that we get locked in for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming.
Kai'Sa has the ability to not only build straight AD, but has recently been going for a hybrid build, similar to what we're seeing out of the Corki, so it'll be interesting to see how they decide to align that and build it up. Given the fact, though, that we are seeing a Fiddlesticks coming out on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, going into the hands of Ender for Hegemon most likely, it is probably going to be the case that Kai'Sa will go for a more traditional AD carry build. That's already a lot of AP coming out from the side of CCGR. Kindred in turn going to be selected by Imperial Gaming. We saw that come out last game, and we also saw it actually go mid into the hands of Azure Fire. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not it'll be a run back of that, and hopefully we'll actually be able to see how the mid laner for Imperial Gaming actually is able to work with that champion.
They felt confident enough to pick it again, assuming that is going to Azure Fire. I had to imagine it went really well. There's no way to know. But it definitely appears that they felt comfortable enough to lock it in for a second time, so why not? We see the Rise ban coming out, though. So Rise, again, we're speculative about the second game in case you're just joining us. There was a bug in the client that would not allow us to watch because Ivern was played. Anytime he tried to clear one of his scamps, it would just stop. So we're just imagining that it was the most fantastical game that was possibly played. But we do see the Rise band come through and a Mumu getting hovered here. So a lot of respect coming out of the side of Crystal Cave Gaming towards the Vayne, the Rise, and the Mumu from last game. So they're really trying to stop whatever happened last game from repeating itself.
And one of those switch ups is the fact that we aren't going to be seeing Ender for Hegemon on on Ivern, which means that hopefully we'll get smooth sailing on into this game unless IG wanted to go and just mess everything up with an Ivern of their own, but instead they're going to go with the Xin Zhao, great early game jungler, kind of confirming that we are going to be seeing Kindred mid repeated here for Azure Fire.
Yeah, Xin Zhao's a very strong jungler. Now, I don't know the matchup between Fiddlesticks and Xin Zhao very well, but I know that I play jungle. I love Xin Zhao. He's a great ganker. He's a great brawler. He loves to get into fights. He just does such a good job. And Vex getting locked in from the side of Crystal Cave at Gaming Ruby here. Vex, recently discovered, very fun to play. Absolutely busted if you get those resets as well. So going to be looking forward to that mid lane fight. If she can dominate, especially in a team fight, and just start domino toppling over one after another, she can take over a game very quickly.
Those ultimate resets definitely being a huge threat. I don't really know how the Vex Kindred matchup goes. It's not exactly one that you see very often. So with that unfamiliarity hanging over us as we move into the game, it'll definitely be a point of focus for us on the casting booth. Wukong going to be locked in, going to the top for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming, and being answered by a hover of the Teemo here.
That's a long hover too. Like normally you switch off of the Teemo by now. Okay.
Tryndamere a little bit more standard. Obviously, like a champion that has been heavily contested in recent days can also go mid lane, but they just have such incredible pressure given the build path that we've been seeing coming out of them. The split push meta has been in full effect, and there is no better than the original split pusher.
Yeah, I mean, split pushing is, we saw it in the first game. Hullbreaker, first item on the set, he tried to split as much as possible. Ultimately, they still won that game, but I don't think it was the split strategy that really got him there. That being said, it's just been coming back so much stronger. You see that one person just never there with the fight if they don't have to be. Taking advantage of having 4 or 5 members dedicated to a team fight, getting those objectives on the other side of the map, and really playing to the macro in the game. So I love it. We'll have to see how it goes down, but the teams are set. We've got everybody logging into the client now. We pretty much know where everybody's going. How are you feeling so far about where everybody's laid out so far, Nyarko?
I think that as we saw in game 1, it's going to come down to execution. The fact that we have Azure Fire back on Kindred makes me feel that they definitely popped off and have the ability to pilot that champion well, but I'm wondering whether or not their playstyle in Kindred mimics what we saw coming out of Ahri in that first game. We didn't even see the Ahri ban, so clearly there's some favoring for Azure Fire onto this champion, and we saw them depart from lane a lot, allowing the other person to get farm, but in turn they attempted to gank multiple lanes on the map throughout the entirety of the early game. So will we see that again? And if so, can we see better execution coming out from Imperial Gaming in terms of actually securing those early kills and getting a snowball going on? Xin Zhao obviously going to be someone who will kind of reflect that play style as well. They love the level 2 ganks. They love the 1v1s in the rivers early on. So IG going to be pretty aggressive early, and I think we'll be seeing a lock-in as to whether or not they'll be able to fully enact that strategy. Obviously, you do also have some late game threat with the Twitch and Lulu, but of course, the snowball, once again, something that they really want Imperial Gaming to get rolling. On the side of CCGR, we also have some champions that get big late, but also have an incredible amount of tempo, especially as we move to around level 6. Fiddlesticks is definitely going to be wanting to ult on cooldown, get really good vision control and area control around the map so that they'll be able to get really good dives onto the backline alongside the Wukong. Those are all going to be things that are going to be heavily reliant on whether or not Hold My Poodle is going to be able to secure vision in areas. Will they be roaming with the Fiddlesticks to try to continue to contest and move up the warding line? Stuff like that. Lots of things to work through as we in the client draft are getting basically a confirmation of where everyone's going. Boptif going to be on that Wukong against Noble Bark on Tryndamere in the top lane. Nothing too crazy coming out.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think you've got, like you said, you've got the late game insurance policy of Twitch Lulu, but you've got a lot of dive potential coming out of Crystal Cave Gaming, right? You've got the Kaisa, the Fiddlesticks, the Vex, even the Wukong. All can just kind of hop under a turret, blow you up real quickly, and then dip out of there. Especially if the Fiddlestick ults over a wall or something like that. You don't see him 1 second, boom, he's there the next second. Vex is able to hop right on there. So you've got to really pay attention, and you kind of mentioned it. With that ward line, you've got to be tracking the Fiddlesticks. You've got to know where he's at so you know how aggressive you can be or how reserved you need to be with your gameplay. Otherwise, one misstep and you're going to find yourself back with a gray screen, staring at the fountain, minding your own business for a couple seconds. Meanwhile, he's just throwing a party and having a good old time. So Imperial Gaming definitely have to do a good job of setting that vision out, tracking where the enemy jungler is, and just trying to keep pace, because like I said, this team can just dive them very quickly and really make it a rough game for them.
Yep, going to be crazy on either side, I'm sure, given the aggression we saw both out of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming in round 1 here. And now that everything is on the table and we have the attempt by Imperial Gaming to maintain their perfect score in this run, and Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby wanting to get that first win on the board, means that I don't think the action will stop anytime soon here. One of the other things to note, though, regarding that action, regarding that aggression, is the fact that Fiddlesticks just frankly isn't a whole lot of a champion until they hit that ultimate power spike, and therefore being up against one of the most aggressive junglers that is currently in the meta right now with Swaggy P on the Xin Zhao makes me wonder whether or not we'll be seeing invades. We'll be seeing a lot of contestations coming out within those junglers in the early game. Perhaps Xin Zhao will try to fight for Fiddlesticks camps right there, try to delay that ability for Fiddlesticks to get a good ult going off and getting some kills onto the board once he spikes up there.
Absolutely. The other thing that I want to point out is that somebody in the chat said that Kindred ended up going 11-2 and Vayne ended up going 7-1. So Kindred apparently very effective for Azir Fire in terms of getting those plays, getting those marks, getting the presence and the pressure known. And so I have to think that's going to happen again, right? Or at least there's the potential for it to happen again. We saw Azir Fire in game 1. Definitely was mobile, definitely roamed, tried to have a presence in the top lane and the bot lane. And if you're on a Kindred that can benefit even more from that roam by grabbing a mark in the jungle or getting a mark off on a champion, then you've definitely got somebody that can just scale and snowball even faster and help get your team going. So very interested. I would love to see game 2, but I'm glad we got to see Kindred in game 3 here.
Can Imperial Gaming make magic strike twice here in this round? Can they continue that momentum that they got from re-securing a victory there in game 2 on the backs of the champions like the Kindred? Or will it be the case that we will see Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby adapt, pull through, and get their first win within the Aegis Guardians League? In order for these questions to be answered, y'all got to stay here now. We're going to go for a little bit of a break as we wait out the spectator delay, but we will be opening back up on the Rift in game 3 between these two teams. Week 4 of the Aegis Guardians League is shaping up to be one for the history books here as we move into Game 3 between Imperial Gaming and Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby going to be on the blue side for this match. We've seen a swap every single time, and now it looks like, though, we're getting that mirroring of what we've seen opening up in every game so far. Everybody 5-pointing, the junglers in the mid lane looking back and forth, trying to find a way to just get a little bit of damage onto each other here. But for the most part, things are pretty peaceful, pretty chill. Charles Elroy, what do you think we're going to be seeing out of these first few levels?
Well, after we've got reports of what happened last game, the Kindred going 11-2, I definitely want to keep an eye on this mid lane matchup for sure. See if Kindred's able to get that same dominance that he got in Game 2. Or on the flip side, if Vex is maybe the answer that, who was answering into him? Xerath wasn't. There we go. I couldn't think of who she went into. So I definitely want to keep an eye on this mid lane, see how Kindred's able to operate. Again, I love this bot lane duo. You know, Darth Grow has been devastating so far in the games, but I really love the Lulu pick with the Twitch. I love the Lulu pick with the Vayne. So I'm keeping my eye on the side of Imperial Gaming here to see if they can execute on their plan. If they can, it's going to be beautiful. If they get set back, though, if that Kindred gets shut down, if he's not able to stack up his marks, if this Lulu and this Twitch are not able to really execute on it, they're going to have a rough time, and it could be a series win for Crystal Cave Gaming. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. What are you looking for?
I think similarly, I want to focus in on that mid lane. Kindred, not a champion you see there a whole lot. Oh, but there's a bit of a change on the top lane here. This fight is going to lead to a flash coming out of Bo3, maybe going a little bit too deep, playing a little bit too aggressively. Ghost going to be blown by Noble Bark to try to continue to stick onto that champion, but that is a big trade coming through and a lot of priority given over to the side of Imperial Gaming this early on.
Yeah, definitely didn't go his way, and he loses some prio in lane, and definitely feels a little bit on the back foot at this point. I do want to point out, Swaggy P had to blow his flash. I didn't see where that went down. Ooh, we got a fight going down.
Yeah, Swaggy P getting surrounded a little bit, just wanting to clear out that blue buff. That clear's not going to come through. First blood going to go over to CCGR. Just great rotation, but in turn, Azure Fire coming into the area. 2 flashes being blown, and the Kindred is going to get that first kill. Looking for a second one here. This is a repeat of what we were seeing, I guess, in Game 2 here. One of the kills going to go down to Paradigm Shift as well. Azure Fire having to use all of their summoner spells, but coming back to lane with that kill, not losing too much CS, and with Rin in the area means that now official Jesus is going low as well. The tumble forward, Azure Fire already continuing that momentum.
Ooh. And taken very low with those turret shots. Barely any health left on the screen, just enough to hit the back button and get out of there. But beautiful job. Great fight that we see in the bot side. Kindred really going heavily onto the Crystal Gaming to get that kill there. And then Twitch following up, securing the second one. And then I love the dive on the turret to get that second kill. Azure Fire is such a good mid laner. I want to see better decision making than we saw in the first game. In the first game, there were wasted teleports, a couple, questionable roams in terms of how much time was dedicated towards the roam. So I just want to see. I want to see them make really good decisions with this lead that they've got now on this Kindred, and hopefully we're going to get to see that.
Yeah, Bo3 going low, using the clone to zone out Tryndamere a little bit here, and really desperately wanting it back, but realizing that this huge crash and loss of CS to Noble Bark will really be punishing, so he stays in turn. Hopefully no dive will come through here, and we are seeing the rotation of Fiddlesticks up to the top side of the jungle to maybe help to D-push a little bit, but Xinjiao, Swaggy P on the other side also rotating into the area, not quite up near the turret for a dive to come through, but all the same, something to definitely watch out for as Bo3 gets bopped once again.
Yeah, like I said, top laners be smacking each other on the head. They just be bopping each other and then running away. And he's really in a tough spot here. He's very likely going to die.
That spin gonna come through. That is a lot of damage going on to Noble Bark, who has to blow that flash in order to try to get out. Boptif once again super low though, and eventually an auto attack is going to secure it. Noble Bark happy to make that trade for his summoner spell in order to get a kill, get that lane going. It is now 4 kills to 1 in favor of Imperial Gaming, who don't seem to have lost their stride at all after a pretty dominant 23 or 24 minute game in round 2.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to get a little bit of the same thing that we didn't quite get to see in the second game. You've got this Kindred, feel large and in charge. You've got the Tryndamere up almost 20 CS at this point, and really abusing the Wukong. You've got the Twitch and the Lulu relatively equal in the bot lane, holding their own well, which all things considered is, you know, not a bad thing. As long as you run even in the bot lane, if you've got a lead somewhere else, it'll work itself out in some of these team fights once, you know, you start to see some roams, some teleports blown. So Imperial Gaming is feeling really good about where they're at right now. Here we go.
Azure Fire going to tumble forward, going to eventually get stopped by the Doom and Gloom coming out of Vex, though. Those little interrupts to the dash can be the reason why we see Official Jesus choose this pick now, not wanting to go with an artillery mage again, something like the Xerath that eventually got picked off and hard pushed out of the game last round here. The change to Vex definitely showing a little bit more positivity in that mid lane, maybe down a kill, but at least staying equal in CS for the time being.
And it makes sense, as you said, having those interrupts to just make sure that when Kindred goes to hop on you, is you're able to stop that from going down, because that's exactly what happened underneath that turret. The hop, the damage came down, and Wolf finished the job out, and it was just one auto after that, and you didn't have to worry about it. So it's a really good answer, and I think it might be what they need to stay viable in this game. But
Azure Fire unperturbed, continuing to go forward, going to take a tower shot there, or going to force a pop ult, but the Ignite is going to be enough to put the Kindred onto a killing spree here. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we also have some drama. Swaggy P going right back in, taking a lot of poke, though, from the side of Darth Crow. There goes a Void Rocket, not going to land onto the Xin Zhao here. We have Rin and Paradigm Shift also rotating around that turret, trying to find a way in and trying to make sure that their jungler gets out alive. Not going to be successful dive, but still shows the dominance and pressure that you see Imperial Gaming currently securing across the map right now. Xin Zhao able to do so much more than Ender for Hegemon at the time being.
And I feel bad for Swaggy P on the Xin Zhao. It seems like every time he gets flash, it's just blown immediately. He's always got that thing on cooldown. So I definitely feel a little bad for him in that regards. But at the same time, like you said, putting out quite a bit of damage, making his presence known. We've got Vex roaming down, and we could see another fight breaking out here in the bot lane.
I like this Vex rotation. Swaggy P is in the area, has vision and understanding that the mid laner is gone, though. So, with him backing over here, kind of waiting in the wings to make sure that a play doesn't pop off in the bot lane, I don't think that Vex will be able to do a whole lot, and we see them returning now to that mid lane. Gonna ult directly onto the Kindred, though. Kindred going to be fleeing after the Doom stacks are popped, but look at how much damage is coming out of those auto attacks that tumble forward, allowing for Azure Fire to continue to keep Official Jesus within their range, and that just is going to lead to a really efficacious trade back, even with the blowing of that ultimate on the side of the Vex.
First off, efficacious, beautiful word. I just want to compliment you on that. But yeah, the autos coming out of this Kindred are just devastating the Vex. You know, she gets a good combo. She does a great job bursting down. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, speaking of damage, Paradigm Shift getting a lot down with the Hold My Poodle there. Going to be traded back a little bit, though, with Darth Crow. And now we have the ultimate from Ender from Hegemon in the area. He is online, baby. There goes the Lulu. And I think Paradigm Shift is sure to follow. That is going to be a trade, though. Hold My Poodle going to go down in turn. Really good foresight from the side of Imperial Gaming to realize, hey, I'm most likely dead here. Let's get at least one kill on the board in return for this gank. But Ender for Hegemon now going to continue to help push this wave in with Darth Crow. That's going to be a lot of gold going back down onto the side of the Kaisa, and something that CCGR really needs right now. Azure Fire rolling go forward once more, gonna be deterred. That's a little bit more even of a trade, but the items coming through are really starting to demonstrate just how powerful this Kindred is. Noon Quiver already completed. Meanwhile, Bo3 having a little bit of trouble getting this Tryndamere off of his tower.
No, he can't do anything. Like, there's so little respect given over to Bo3 right now on this Wukong that Noble Bark is literally just farming the plates under turret with the Wukong there. Zero fear from an engage, and he's sitting on Rift. So he's going to be able to very likely take this in the next couple moments. And we're going to see, yep, here it goes.
Undying Rage still an option for him if he wants to continue this fight with the help of the Rift Herald. That is going to be a charge and more gold, and perhaps even first tower. Yep, going down to the side of IG mid lane. Azure Fire finally going low, gonna have to pop the ultimate there, getting the heal back up, and now Official Jesus is in trouble. Ignite doing it once again. IG, so much pressure on this bot side of the map with the invade alongside this dominating presence in the mid lane. Azure Fire showing up and showing out with this champion.
Kindred mid is officially broken. I'll say it. Just absolutely great plays coming out of Azure Fire, and it feels like very comfortable on this Kindred mid as well. And look at Tryndamere here on the top side. Ooh.
Noble Bart getting double charged without much in the way of rotation from the side of CCGR is devastating, and he's able to get out alive. Fiddlestick's not exactly the best champion for chasing here. Really, really scary situation so early on for the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. They're going to have to do something drastic to try to pull this back. Look at the confidence out of the Tryndamere, staying in the area, realizing that he's able to bully the Wukong and can probably 2v1 this Fiddlesticks as well, given the fact that they are 3 levels down.
And no, he's only sitting on Berserker Greaves. It's not like he's itemized, has a lot of items yet. This is just purely outplaying from a player standpoint. He is not afraid to, just like you said, assert his dominance, pull people away. He had to make Ender for Hegemon walk away from Wolves just so that he could see he was there. And he's disrupting so much on the map. Ooh.
Azure Fire's damage with the Gale Force. Talking about itemization coming through here. Gale Force is Scale Force. Azure Fire deeply and conclusively online here.
Gale Force is Scale Force? I love that. I'm going to steal that the next time I do play-by-play. Thank you. No, just dominating, right? 5-0, 90 CS, almost the third most in the game. Completed mythic item, just dominating, making their presence known down here in the bot lane. Like, they're outnumbered, but they're not very afraid of what's going on.
Ultimate coming out from Kindred. Rin gonna have to flash away. There just doesn't have the same kind of mobility that Azure Fire does have on the Kindred here. Eventually dropping ult. Here comes in Official Jesus trying to get a kill down, but they may have gone a little bit too far. Azure Fire just coming back, and now you have Bark in the area. The two most fed members of IG gonna come through, take down that Vex, now 0-5, and they're going to continue to push forward as we see the ultimate get popped out. A double kill, a triple kill coming through for Noble Bark, as now we see the Fiddlesticks going gold. Who's going to secure this last one? No Quadra, but Azure Fire says, hey, Tryndamere, I see you having fun. Let me get one more as well. That is an incredible amount of pressure and damage coming through from Imperial Gaming, and it's going to be very, very hard to get back into this.
And I want to point out, this is kind of one of the benefits, what we're seeing right here, of having double marksman, is now you get to have Paradigm Shift rotate up to the top side. That wasn't one of the benefits, but in theory, you get to have him rotate mid now, get some solo XP, and level up just a little bit quicker than Darth Crow is going to be able to level up. Because now you can have Azure Fire rotate over with Ren, and so you kind of get that mixed benefit of having 2 ADCs. Now, did it work out in that exact moment? No. But conceptually, I think it's an okay strategy. So we'll have to see if they're able to make it work for them again here a little bit later.
I think Paradigm Shift saw the success that is occurring both from Noble Bark and Azure Fire and thought, hey, let me try that as well. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite as effective for the Twitch, going to get bonked on the head and get a little bit of gold back onto Boptif on the Wukong here. Noble Bark very, very deep, getting chased down by 3 members of the enemy team. They're about to get their ultimate back up, though, and the fact that they got those spins to win means that they're probably going to get out here. In fact, they may be trying to turn this fight a little bit.
I mean, he's bringing 3, almost 4 members down to him at any given moment. He's still got his ult up. He's got his empowered Q to heal up again if he needs to. Like, he is just so hard to answer. And because he's 4-0, 130 CS, he's setting on his Kraken Slayer. He's already taken 3 turrets at this point, working on his 4th. He is the definition of split push right now. Look it up in the dictionary. You'll just see Noble Bark on Tryndamere smiling back at you, and that's terrifying. Here we go.
That is an ultimate coming out from the side of both Lamb's Respite and the Fiddlesticks, and eventually the shutdown's going to go over, but hold by Poodle, getting a bit of a KS there, taking down that huge bounty, and it going onto the side of CCGR support. We get a re-engage here. Boptif trying to spin in, trying to get a knock-up onto the enemy team. IG going to be able to use Paradigm Shift to go in there and try to allow for a D-push or some damage to come through, but that was a bit of overconfidence. Without the Kindred, they just don't have the damage, and Noble Bark now wanting to get revenge for their fallen comrades, moving in, huge presence on the Rift there, but Twitch just a little bit too far forward, getting punished and getting some gold back onto the board for Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby.
And I don't love bringing Noble Bark up here. The fight was already over. The health bars aren't nearly low enough to utilize his kit at this point. I would have really liked to see him to stay in bot lane, and if you lose Azure Fire, if you lose Paradigm Shift, like, that's okay. Get that bot tier 2 turret and really put some pressure on this map for them, make them have to answer you. So I would have liked to have seen that played a little bit differently, but he's scary. You do not want to run into him. He's got 3 people around him, and he's not that afraid, and rightfully so.
Yeah, Rin in the back line here trying to help to make sure Tryndamere is able to continue to secure kills. Vex is going to go down, Hold by Poodle going low as well. You have both Death Stance and Kraken Slayer already completed, and Azure Fire gonna go and Kindred! There's a continued fight as well down here in the bot side of the map. Swaggy P getting a lot of pressure down, not going to be able to secure a kill of their own, but this is a Rift Herald dropped into the mid lane here. Azure Fire looking to continue to push this huge advantage. Flash going to have to be burned here to get out of the way of Ender for Hegemon, but it looks like we're getting a coalescing of Imperial Gaming here into the mid lane, getting a second charge out of that Rift Herald, and perhaps even Inhibitor turret ultimate going to come through, but it's not going to be enough damage. Paradigm Shift now going to be the one securing the kill onto Ender for Hegemon as Swaggy P moves forward. They really want to get the Inhibitor here and continue to push their advantage. They may be looking to just group and end if they're able to get this down and get their super minions going. Ultimate gonna land. Rin going to be taken out by Official Jesus, or at least an attempted fight going on through here. A shutdown finally going to go back over. Kindred dying a second time now. Wukong not able to do a whole lot though. Swaggy P, a big front line for Paradigm Shift as Rin, as they are going to extract themselves from the situation. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, while all this is going on, Noble Bark is getting a huge wave pushed in under this tower. The split push god continuing to dominate here as Darth Crow comes into the area, but it's going to need the backup of several people to try to get something done. Look at them just standing there waiting to see whether or not Tryndamere will deign to push forward here. Big slash and a little bit of fear coming out, and for Hegemon looking to continue to push this advantage and go in, but I'm not really sure whether or not even 3 or 4 people can take down the Tryndamere at this point. He is going to run away ultimately, though doesn't want to contest or limit test that much here, which is totally fine given the fact that we don't even have any objectives up right now.
No, he's got 4 levels on everybody but the Wukong, and then on top of that, he went and just soloed Drake on his own before he rotated to that bot side turret, and we now see Imperial Gaming. They've got 3 turrets. They're already setting at Soul, and they were setting at Soul at just 17 minutes in. So around the 22, 23 minute mark, they could very easily, Soul Point, they could very easily get Soul. And an Ocean Soul on a Tryndamere is going to feel really bad if he's just constantly healing up during these extended fights with his empowered Q. And then with his ult, like, you're never going to kill him. You already can't kill him, but you're never going to kill him.
Darth Crow JC walking a little bit too far forward. There's an engage from the Azure Fire, getting a bunch of poke down, but ultimately it's just going to lead to a clear of the wave. And for Hegemon, maybe trying to get into the area and get something done, a Void Missile is going to be shot out from Darth Crow JC, but as I said before, everyone is just kind of comfortable in just pushing in, getting this advantage, and posturing super aggressively because they know on the side of Imperial Gaming that if CCGR walk up a little bit too far, they are going to lose the game just straight up right here. The tower clearing ability that Noble Bark has is just incredibly dominant, and so as we see this inhibitor mid-fall, we are going to see a rotation back, the buying of a few more items, and I don't think that this pressure is ever going to let up.
No, I mean, a pre-20-minute inhib almost certainly guarantees that you're going to get the Baron. It definitely means that they're in the driver's seat for all the neutral objectives. You know, I'm trying to think of, if you're on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they can do here. That ultimate is going to whiff. Fiddlesticks not getting much done here. Ultimate from Official Jesus also going to land. Rallium's Respite going to be popped in the middle of it all. Noble Bark having so much pressure on the map. Kindred's going to heal back up, get some more damage down, and now we have Undying Rage coming out. Look at the healing coming through. That is everyone but Fiddlesticks now down on the side of Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, and they are looking for this last one. They are looking for the ace here. They're going to get another inhibitor, and the question is, are they going to continue to push forward? Will they go for these two towers, and will they look to end at the 20-minute mark? It sure looks like it right now. The death time is still a little bit too long. They're going to keep wiping out these objectives. This is an incredibly fast game here in the Aegis Guardians League, and we see Imperial Gaming ride that high from Game 2 and take out CCGR in this final Game 3.
You know, Kindred was 11-2 last game. He ends up going 11-2 this thing. It's consistency, if nothing else. Azure Fire, absolutely devastating on the Kindred. Noble Bark on the Tryndamere just could not be matched. And then you have a beautiful supporting cast with everybody else. There was nothing that the side of Crystal Cave Gaming could really do. I don't know what they do to answer that. That's what I was saying before that last fight broke out is, what's the answer? What's your way back into this? Obviously, we saw there wasn't one. But that Tryndamere and that Kindred were just so far ahead, so large and in charge, there was absolutely nothing they could do to try and get any kind of footing back in that game.
What an incredible showing from Imperial Gaming. I think that honestly, the answer is that the reason they are the front runners in this Aegis Guardians League is that they just simply stomp from minute one. They have incredible lane dominance and great map awareness. They rotate to each other, they try to make plays, and as soon as you get one of those big kind of avalanche-like showings where they're able to take out several members of the enemy team at a given time, what happens is that they just try to ride that high straight to victory. I think that Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby in that first game, the reason that they emerged victorious is that they were able to stop the huge snowball from really crashing down on their heads, and they allowed for Imperial Gaming to kind of defeat themselves via some shaky macro as we moved into the late game. However, in what we've heard of Game 2 and what we have seen in Game 3, Imperial Gaming just frankly doesn't need to work on the macro if they're going to be winning at 20 minutes, at 24 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, like you said, in Game 1, it was sus macro. They had some teleports that were wasted. They had some Sonies that were wasted. They had some blast cones over walls that really got them killed. It was just a little bit too much confidence, not enough respect given. And even that was a close game. Let's not forget, there were several times that Imperial Gaming had the lead into it. And then a team fight was solid out of Crystal Cave Gaming and would get them back into it. The beautiful Baron steal from Ezreal, by the way, let's not forget that, really kept them alive in that game. If that Baron hadn't been stolen with the Ezreal ult, I think we see a 2-game series, honestly. So really, really wonderful play out of both these teams. But Imperial Gaming, just like you said, super solid. They got that early game, and if that snowball gets rolling and you don't stop it, it turns into an avalanche, and you get a 21-minute game wrapped up by basically 2 members of the team. I mean, the other ones were just there to kill some minions for him in the meantime. It was Tryndamere Kindred just running the show at that point.
Most definitely. I think that going forward, now that Imperial Gaming have fully cemented themselves as the front runners of this league, what we will be seeing is an attempt by teams to try to exploit these weaknesses that you've pointed out, Charles. I think that you have to try to get a longer game going. Go on Scaling Champions, play it safe, don't allow for IAG to become the monsters that they can easily become, and perhaps you'll have a chance from there on out. In Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, as you said before, in that first game, they definitely had some marvelous plays. They understood where to push the buttons of IAG and go for some big plays. They got that Baron steal, and they were able to leverage that into a lot of domination across the map. They secured the soul as well. And I think that it is the case going forward that as Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby continue to develop and evolve in what they are showcasing throughout these 12 weeks that we have here in Aegis Guardians, we'll be seeing better and better play coming out of them moving forward.
Well, and I think next week too, they're going against Omega Gaming Apex, which is 3-1 right now in the league. So their standings are tied for, I believe, like second or third, depending on how the rest of the games shake out for today. So they certainly are going to get a little bit stronger matchup there. And I think, like you said, if you can stay alive, scaling champions, and just try and make it to that 30, 35, 40-minute mark on a champion that really does well in the late game, like the Corky did, eventually taking over well, like the Ezreal scaled up really well. If you can get onto one of those champions and punish that way, you've got a chance against this Imperial Gaming. But if you let them do what they did in Game 2 and Game 3, you're not going to have a chance. They're going to run away with it, and they did a beautiful job of executing on the draft.
Great drafts and fantastic games. It's sort of a tragedy that we didn't get to see what Imperial Gaming brought to the table in round 2 here, but I think that the message that they sent here in this final game of the series really cements their place within Aegis Guardians. For those of you just tuning in, we have just witnessed a banger series between Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby and Imperial Gaming here. Imperial Gaming coming out on top in 3 games here. Had a bit of a fumble in that first one, but managed to bring it back decisively in rounds 2 and 3. So for everyone here at Aegis Guardians and Aegis in general, we thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Yarko.
I'm Charles Elroy.
And thank you so much for having us.